Welcome to Foxhole Symphony, a podcast about the transformational value of men in authentic community.
In our Foxhole, men are equipped to build relationships that foster belonging, accountability, and growth.
Stop believing the lie that you can thrive in isolation and instead
join us on the journey from broken to whole.
Hello, everyone. They call me the Maestro, and we are back in the Foxhole where we actively pursue belonging, accountability, and growth through authentic relationships. No masks, no agendas, just iron sharpening iron. Steve and Mark are delivering up an interesting pairing in the Foxhole today. Are you ready to talk about stress and, wait for it, flowers? I'm fairly certain that is the first time I said those two words in the same sentence. I'm excited to see how they tie this together. Grab your stress ball. We're going in.
Hey, welcome back to Foxhole Symphony Podcast. I'm Sarge here with my good friend Mark.
good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Or good evening. Well, it depends on when you're listening, but it's morning for us.
It is morning, and of course we drop in the morning. So yeah, here we are, and it is beautiful. You know, the last few episodes that we recorded and talked about, you know, it was always raining. It was cold and wet, right? And so we're just, not the case, man. Sun's shining. It is beautiful, and I feel like, you know, summer's here.
I'm worried about this no rain thing, but I don't know why, because a lot of folks are like, oh, rainy day, you know. But first of all, I love rainy days in the spring because it means I don't have to dig a hole for anything in the yard. But there's no rain in the forecast for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So get ready watering, pal.
Yep. We might need to do that. Well, it's interesting. You know, we talk about this. I'm not so sure that we talk about it like live on air, but we've definitely talked about how, you know, around your house, I mean, there's just flowers. So I pulled up, here's a little story. I pulled up this morning to record in the studio, and Mark is in position, which is pretty much the position every time I pull up. And he's got a shovel in his hand, and he's digging in the dirt, and there's potted plants and flowers everywhere. Now, if you've ever been to Mark's, you would know that you would actually guess that there's not one spot that you could possibly plant another flower, because Sweet Maria, his wife, just has flowers everywhere. I mean, it's just the whole place is in bloom, and it's amazing. So I say, of course, oh, you found a piece of dirt? I mean, like literally, like if there's a piece of dirt showing, that there needs to be a plant or a flower in it. Now, so it's amazing. Now here's the thing.
I can't wait for this part.
Well, back in the winter, right? I would show up and you would say, hey, in just a couple of months, like just imagine these things are going to be popping out of this hard frozen ground.
Yep.
Right. And what's amazing is it just really is so beautiful that the stress of the frozen tundra doesn't stop these things from coming back every year.
Right.
It's incredible. Their response to stress is to break through.
So
this morning, I want to talk about stress. Now, stress is good. Stress is bad, right? There's good stress, there's bad stress.
Right.
And, you know, like we just talked about with the flowers, the things that bloom, you know, these things that come back, it's amazing. I don't get how it works. I don't understand it. God's got a plan for it, and it just beautifies our world, right?
Yes.
There's something about stress and our response to it that I believe is God-given, right? He's planted in us the ability. It's a gift, the response to stress. If we didn't respond to stress, think about the physical damage we would do to ourselves, right? So there's the physical component of this that allows us to protect ourselves, right? From putting our hand on a hot stove, right, or whatever it may be, right? Emotional stress, right? Psychological stress. There's a safety and security that comes, that's born out of our God-given awareness of stress, right? And then the other positive component is that it is stress that causes us, I believe, to flourish and to break through, right? In business, we talk about the point of perturbation. It's this simmering point right before you get this rapid boil, right? And that's it's the stress point that once you break through, right, this plateau, you're off. It's how you respond to that stress that matters.
It's
so
211 degrees.
There it is.
That's the point. 1 degree before boil.
So it's interesting, right? I mean, we think about stress as being negative, right? As being a bad thing, right? There's this. It's often defined as a state of worry or mental tension, caused by a challenging situation, right? That sounds really bad,
right?
Sounds negative, but it doesn't have to be, right? So what do we do with it?
Yeah, well, the connotation is terrible, right? Because there are multiple industries and businesses that make a lot of money fixing stress.
Sure.
Right? And come on, there's a pill for everything.
Sure.
So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, though.
Right.
But I'd love to go down the flowers rabbit hole with you, because what I've learned in following Sweet Maria around and digging holes is the rest and the stress cycle of those plants, and how they flower, like they grow,
Yep.
they flower, and then they rest.
Yeah.
The things that come back on their own every year store up their energy during that winter tundra, so that the minute the temperature, a couple things happen, a lot of it having to do with God just, look, we can go all the way to the axis and how we're tilted and how the sun hits us in different times of year. But the bottom line is, these little fellas, these bulbs get a message.
It's time.
That's it. It's time.
It's go time.
Right. And that's oh, look at it. I got goosebumps all over. I'm ready to talk about Go Day. I got the Pentecost thing on my head.
Yeah. So go ahead.
The cycles here, I'm going to stay with my house. You're right. There are a lot of flowers around. There's a koi pond out front.
Yeah.
The fish do the same thing. So it happens in the winter. They go into suspended animation. They
amazing.
Literally just, they're sitting there.
They look dead.
Right. They look dead. They're not turned over, floating dead. They're just sitting still.
They're upright dead.
Right. And you have, or horizontally dead.
Yes.
But you have to stare at them for a minute or two to see a fin move.
Yeah.
And that's the only sign that you get. But when the temperature of the water gets above about 45, all of a sudden,
the voracious appetites come to life.
Right. But for 4 months, they rest.
Fascinating.
Store up their energy.
Yeah.
Then it's go time.
Yeah.
Right? Where the machine all starts moving, and God's at work in our lives in so many ways. Now let's, how this thread from a flower bulb, from a daffodil to a koi, I'm going to take a gigantic leap to humans.
Yeah.
We're so the same.
Absolutely.
But, and it is seasonal, but it's daily. It's almost, take it down to the day, to the hour, to the moment, where I'll speak for myself. I manage stress now at this stage of my life, at 64, doing what I do in my lifestyle, with power naps. Once or twice a week, sometime late in the afternoon, 15, 20 minutes. It's beautiful. Naps used to be a cuss word to me, because there was weakness in naps.
Right.
I don't need no stinking naps, but I understand how that rest helps me. So stress, I know this is a big picture conversation, but for me, stress management, I can tell you, it almost gives me hives to hear people at work talk about stress testing. Let's stress test this idea. Let's stress test it. I'm like, this work is a bad place to do that, in my opinion. Like, you do that in a lab somewhere, but I get a lot of that at work, and it's an uncomfortable place for me because it's untried territory, where a group of people that are brainstorming say, well, we have an idea, an approach, we want to do this. Let's stress test that idea. That has a negative connotation to me. Maybe not you and others, but I'm a stress manager by doing.
Yeah.
It's go day for me most every day.
Right.
When I get stressed out, no joke, if Marie and I are having a moment where we're not seeing eye to eye on something, I don't go into the bedroom and lay down. I go do a project. I get something done. That's how I manage stress.
Well,
how do you deal with it personally?
Well, first of all, there's a lot to that, right? The activity itself, just being active, is a huge stress reliever. I mean, it does relieve stress, right? Whether that be, just movement, physical movement in the gym, whether it be walking, whether it be, some other sort of recreation.
Yeah.
There's the physical aspect of movement that's a stress reliever for sure. And that is true for me. I oftentimes in heightened stress, I will, kind of shut down a little bit. And I need to push myself through to get moving, to remind myself that it's good for me.
Yeah. I get that.
Certainly, recreating, is something that, is definitely helps me manage my stress. Ron and I, we out on our motorcycles yesterday, and, doing business planning and having great conversation, but we call it blowing off stink. You want to go blow off some stink? I mean, literally just get on the bike and move, and the wind just does something. We call it wind therapy. And we just love that, right? It's just something we enjoy is wind in the air,
There's a bumper sticker in there somewhere. Blowing off stink.
Yeah. Well, there was an ad. There was a great ad we talk about all the time. And it was I think it was a Harley Davidson ad. And it said, somewhere there's a man sitting in an airplane about to open a bag of peanuts. That was the ad. That was the ad. Now I don't think they serve bags of peanuts anymore, but this is an old ad, right?
Stroopwafel.
But it's like, in other words, like, don't fly, ride, right? Get on your bike and go. Like, there's a guy cramped in his, that's what it was, like cramped in his airplane seat about trying to open a bag of peanuts, right? That was the ad. And I'm like, oh man.
Do you know what
classic.
a stroopwafel is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
I just blurted it out. Right. You don't get peanuts or pretzels.
Yeah, give us stroopwafels.
You get a stroopwafel.
I don't eat them, but but I would love to. but anyway, so I think recreation, and for me, it's all about the adrenaline. I mean, the more adrenaline. I don't understand the science of that, but for me, if I get the adrenaline pumping, it just helps me manage stress. It breaks me out of that, and just the endorphins, I guess. Right. So the riskier, the better.
Oh gosh,
for me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
God bless you.
Where and I think we've touched on this, but just getting the rest. I mean, you mentioned the bulbs, right? And these seasons of rest, and as our listeners know, we have a bias toward action, right? You just said, I get moving when I get stressed out, right? And there is something. I'm not a napper unless I really. Like if I'm sick, I'm napping, but I just can't. Not that I don't want to, I just can't.
When I was as young as you, go ahead.
But, sitting still, just being still, as we've talked about, is just such an enormous challenge for me. And going into this year, it was my phrase for the year was embrace solitude.
Yeah.
Embrace solitude. And, meaning just not force myself to be alone, but learn to love being alone.
How are you doing with it?
I haven't had, I would say earlier on, like Q1, I had more opportunity to practice that. Lately, just with spring hitting and everything else, I haven't had as much opportunity. I've been, but it's because I've been serving, I've been serving a lot, serving my wife and family, and of course at work, although I don't feel like there's an unsustainable pace there. So I'm not in a season of massive stress. I don't feel like, but
you do have a lot of balls in the air.
Always. But that doesn't equate to stress for me. Like that doesn't.
Oh no! It's your happy place.
It is.
This is Peter Pan.
It is. Yeah. As LC once told me, he said, "Why do you get so stressed out when you're standing on the edge of a cliff when that's where you thrive?" And I'm like, huh. That's a great point. Like, I'll never forget that. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I brought myself here because this is where I love to be, ready to jump off. But no, I am embracing solitude. Even now, like I find myself sitting, alone outside or on the patio, or, or going for a walk. Where listen, like even a year ago, that was incredibly painful for me. So, yeah, I think it is just becoming a part of my practice.
Awesome.
Yeah, and which is maybe why I'm not so incredibly stressed out. Not that I never am, but me and stress, we're pretty close. We get along. He's one of my closest friends. Stress and his close buddy anxiety.
Oh, I'm sorry. My word for the year was be useful.
Yeah, it's not action oriented.
Be useful. Yeah, I'm trying to think of
though.
being useful
A less
too.
selfish, action oriented word.
Yes. Well,
I love it.
yeah. I thank you for helping me remember.
Hence the shovel in your hand when I pull up most.
God is using me in so many ways, so it's all good.
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep my plan out of the middle of it, but that's a whole nother episode.
So so again, I think this thing of stress. How does positive stress show up in your life?
One of the ways is, for instance, vacation planning comes to mind. The first thing that popped into my head.
Interesting.
Is that I've got a good opportunity. Maria and I, Jack, whatever, family decides we're going to go do this at this time. I get so energized. Mildly, there's a little OCD in there. But
planning?
Yeah. But the ideas of what to do, learning the language, what I do before I go to a country. I want to immerse myself. It's exactly the same MO I have in the Word. In the Bible, I love to be immersed in the narrative. It's why the Hebrew Bible, I love it so much. And you know.
Yep.
So I dig understanding the story with all the geographics, the demographics, the people, the customs, the foods, everything that's going on in the Bible. Similarly, I do that when I'm venturing away from my comfort zone.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be out in a place I've never been before, or rarely, I love to get immersed. So there's stress in that it's self-imposed, but it's positive stress for me. My tail is wagging, doing Babel, the voice, the language, learning a different language in Babel, or it's the first thing that popped into my head was the positive stress, self-imposed, that when I'm thinking about the excitement of going someplace and seeing somewhere else that God has done what he's done right here for us in Hunterdon County, New Jersey.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have, what comes to mind for me, one of the things that comes to mind is a lack of clarity. I mean, uncertainty is, it doesn't feel good. It's definitely stress. Like if I have uncertainty or lack of clarity about, just my direction, about,
I know what you mean.
Where I'm going, where I'm headed, where my family's headed, where my business is headed, where God's calling me, how I'm, if I just so appreciate focus and vision and clarity. And the interesting thing is that, and when I have that, I'm in planning mode, right? I'm a strategic planning. Like I just, everything, my whole life.
Yep.
When I don't have it, when there's uncertainty, it is a healthy stress, and it stresses me out. That's one of the things that really causes me to feel unsettled, and that unsettling. I know when I'm unsettled because everything's off. Yeah, I feel it physically.
Yep, it's visceral.
It's visceral. I'm easily frustrated or angry.
Yep.
Right. I'm not resting. I don't feel rested. I feel tired. I'm not sleeping well, right? All of my rhythms are off, and I'm.
I love that about you. No, the need for order.
Yes,
I love that about you. Yet, I'm going to ask you, at that moment of unsettlement or unsettledness, you have a choice.
Yes,
you can pick yourself up and start organizing things, get the focus, get the vision, get the laser,
Yep.
Or you could take a deep breath, go sit down, pray, and say, Lord, what do you want here? What's your go-to?
Oh, it's the latter. It absolutely has to be. So in my younger years or my immaturity, I would just plow through and just keep creating. And it would the stress would grow and grow and grow and grow and crash.
Yeah.
Now, I've learned to retreat, find solitude, when needed, bring others into the conversation. You know, my addiction to whiteboards comes in here, you know, and I've got them everywhere, you know, whiteboard walls, whiteboards in my car, and everywhere under my seat. And I just start writing. I like to just start writing.
You're good.
And typing. And, you know, so I'll just type 1,000 words, just boom, 1,000 words, whatever comes out. And it's amazing. And I'll go back and read it and go, wow, because there's emotion, there's innovation, there's all this exciting, and then forget it. Now there's just these embers and I'm fanning the flame. And now it's like, all right, now what? What am I going to do with this? Who else do I need to communicate with? Be it my family, my partners, my staff, right? Whatever, my friends, my, you know, ministry partners. Who else do I need to invite into this conversation and start casting some vision, right? And that's where I thrive. That's where I love. So, but it's out of that stress and uncertainty that causes that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Otherwise, I'm just humming along, right? I'm just moving. I'm in action mode. Yeah. But where I really thrive is in that place of discomfort and uncertainty and creating order out of uncertainty. Right.
Cool.
I've
seen,
for me,
you're
that's
very gifted there.
Love to do that. So it's interesting because it's painful. It is painful to be in that place. And then it's like, it's for me, it's from one extreme to another. It's from this very painful, uncomfortable, uncertain environment to crystal clarity and inspiration and movement.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about that. I'm going to do a quick juxtaposition to another positive stress of mine, and that's presentation stress. When whether it's public speaking or just doing something at work. Yep. First of all, I really enjoy it. The people interaction part, I love so much, and I really invest in that. But I get good, I call them good butterflies.
Yeah,
which
interesting.
I don't think there are bad butterflies, but that's for me. There's such an energy jam with making sure I've done the most important thing I can do before I'm going to tell somebody my opinion of something. And I'm talking professionally mostly, but it also happens at my house, is I try to walk in their shoes. I teach people this at work all the time. I suggest and motivate people to think about who they're talking to before they come up with their next great idea. What is it you're proposing? And in my case, it'd be service, right? With IT services. But since there are human beings involved, I think we're forced, right, to take that energy, that stress that I feel about, I'm going to either make the sale. I'm a salesman. I'm either going to make the sale or not make the sale. I always try to walk a mile in that person's shoes and think, is this going to resonate with them? Is this going, and that journey requires me to do a little homework. Yeah. And that homework is
stressful.
Right.
Got it.
Really stressful for me, but in a really good way. Yeah. And I get more done. I've also talked myself out of making presentations or saying something because after a while I'm sitting there doing the mirror, going, I wouldn't buy this. Yeah. Why should he? Right. Or she? Yeah. So that's another.
That's awesome. So I think the key is in identifying the stress, right? Because we could maybe make these blanket judgments that like for you could have this understanding or this blanket judgment that presentations stress you out, but that's not the case. No. You actually love it.
I do.
Right? It's the preparation that stresses you out, right? For me, like somebody might say, "Oh gosh, developing plans, stresses him out." It's like, no, it's actually the opposite. It's not having a plan. Right. And so I would ask our listeners,
like, yes, but.
Maybe start with when are you most stressed and how does it show up? Because I think that's important too. How's that showing up in my life? Is it frustration, right? Is it short fuse, anger, right? Is it isolation, anxiety? What are the things? And then when do you feel that? When do you really feel it? Get down into the nitty gritty, peel back the layers and identify what is it that brings it on and reverse engineer it because, that's what God does, beauty from ashes, right? And just like the example you gave and the example I gave, there's opportunity there because stress is good. It doesn't have to take us into a tailspin, right? And a crash and burn. God has uniquely equipped each of us uniquely to handle that stress, to manage that stress, and to make something beautiful out of it.
And I love that. And I'm so glad that we're getting here in the conversation, because you and I talk over and over and over about the pebble in the pond impact, right? How that works for us. Stress can take you from a pebble in the pond to the boulder in the bathtub, right? Where
absolutely
you're making a mess, right? That metaphor is where do you go?
Leaving a wake behind you.
That's it. All of a sudden you're not rippling.
Yeah.
You're a tsunami and not helping anybody. I'm sure you can. I'm a visual thinker. So I love the fact that you're acknowledging, and we both know how much God is in the middle of this, and so does not want us to let stress govern, right? That's of the enemy.
Right.
Where I'm short with my wife, or my tone sucks because I'm hurt by something, or I'm stressed out about something. What I find now in my life is I talk it out.
Yeah.
I may say something stupid. I'm going to give an example. As I'm cross with Maria, and it does take me about 6 seconds to realize that wasn't totally undeserved, wrong. I got to apologize, but I talk out why I'm there. The reason I'm feeling this way is I'm stressed out about that. I can bring that to her. I would do that with you and have done that with you. And this is how I'm feeling right now. And God has given me a little patience, a little grace, lets me extend that grace, and ultimately it comes down to how I love.
Yeah, it does. And patience, you mentioned patience. I mean, that's key, right? Because sometimes we are, like the koi in the pond or the bulb in the ground, where, we're meant to be in a season of, inactivity, in a season of stillness, in a season of even darkness, right? I think of these ugly little bulbs, right? In the ground, firmly planted, but don't forget they're firmly planted, right? We're firmly planted even in that season of stillness, that season of rest, waiting for the right temperature, waiting for God to have all the conditions right, that we burst through into this beautiful, beautiful creation.
That's it. That's the word. We're part of that creation.
100%. And so
I love that.
No matter where you are, right? Sometimes it's not quick, right? For me, it's like that. Those seasons of uncertainty. Oh, torture when it's months long. If it's an entire season or years, brutal.
I know. And sometimes you just can't take it anymore and you just go do it. And you're thinking, Lord, be with me. You're still praying all the way, but you've got a flame trail behind you and smoke, and you don't know what's going to happen because you weren't obedient.
Oh, listen, truth be told, I'm usually asking God to bless my activity afterwards. There's no doubt about it.
Guilty.
I mean, guilty as charged.
Yeah.
I mean, one of these days, not that, I mean, sometimes I do, but boy, man, that's where community comes in. Like, I need to be reminded. I need community to say, like, hey, let's pray. Let's invite God into this, and let's trust what he's going to do with it, and be ready, and be in a a ready posture, right? To move, to go at the right time.
I think I may have more experience with this only because I'm 15 years older than you are, but how many times have you been invited into a group organization because they know you'll get it done?
Oh, all the time.
Right. That's why the company I want to start is GSD LLC, or Get Stuff Done, right?
Exactly.
And people know.
Yeah.
This bias for action it's not a tattoo or a shirt you wear, but people know you're wired to move.
Of course.
And funny that in the group there are thinkers.
Yep.
And then there are the writers. And then there are the movers.
Dreamers.
Right. Wonder, right? It's
yes.
Lencioni's widgets.
Yep.
right? Wonder, invention, to do so.
Discernment.
Right. Galvanizers. And I land the plane. Okay. If I didn't watch out, I'd get sucked into those environments all the time and never have a chance to be still, to wonder, because I'm prideful. When people invite me into an environment like that, I want to show them.
I am your guy.
It's super Mark.
100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
What a bad cycle.
It's exhausting.
I know. So listeners, don't do that. Whatever your bias is, God bless you that God made you that way. It's a gift.
Yeah.
But we're saying there's a 360 view of this, and stress does not have to be a smoldering molten lava ball.
Yeah.
That's just.
Well, this is why they say 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, because those are the people you go to, the people that actually get stuff done and get it done well, right?
Oh.
It's the curse of
Efficiency.
competence.
Yeah, there you go.
And capacity.
Wow, I'm gonna put my
It
dislocate
is.
my shoulder.
Listen, you look around at work and go, I got this project. Who am I going to? There they are, and their plates overflowing. They're drowning.
Right, and they're looking at you like, I hate you.
Yeah,
picking me
right.
again.
And you're like, but you're so good at it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? I mean,
I am going to continue to plant flowers, both today and for the rest of my life. I find that the stress of seeing the pots sitting around waiting for something is more than I can take. At the same time, I'm so in love with my wife and what she sees as beautiful and what she does to beautify our home, that we both know God is in the bulb, in the koi, in the people,
in the soil.
Right. And there are lessons in this. I say, praise God that I get to experience this, and I am slowing down in my own way, still getting things done, but I have such a great time managing stress differently, knowing that my Lord and Savior, my Father, has got it.
Yeah.
That ultimately it is another surrender episode in my life. And I try to have one a day.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I really try to stop each day, usually at my devotional time, and just be sure I'm at least mouthing the words, Lord, this is all yours.
Yeah.
It's all yours. I can live with it. As much as I want to control it, as much as my pride and my sinful nature want to take over, I'm comfortable in the stress of surrendering. The surrender without apathy, is stressful for me.
Yeah.
Whether it's with my son or something at work, something else in my life, that really impacts me. And I could spin it negatively in a minute, but I will not.
Yeah.
And I keep people like you close to me to remind me, God's got it.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that now.
And we'll use it, right? Yeah.
I have to trust that he will.
Yeah.
Sometimes not how I want him to, which is not easy.
Yeah. So, and I think for me, it's just a reminder to be aware, to be self-aware of my stress. I've always wanted to stress less. And I think it's just, again, it's a perspective thing, how I look at it. I think there's necessary stress. There's certainly unnecessary stress as well. And so taking a good hard look at that and saying, what am I feeling? Where is this coming from? What's causing this? Where is God in it? And what does he want me to do about it?
Right there.
Right?
Two huge questions.
Yeah.
Where is he in it? What does he want me to do with it?
Yeah.
Especially when stress is thrust upon you.
Yeah.
Like someone brings you their stress.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And is it yours, right? Is it mine to take or not? And, it may or not be. So I'm really glad that you were outside planting when I pulled up, because we didn't really know what we were going to talk about today, but it kind of just, gave us a topic and we jumped in and had a conversation. So we hope to our listeners, we hope it was edifying and encouraging to you. Stress less. And when you do stress, ask God, how does he want to use that? Right? What is the purpose for it? And we hope that you are just leading a joy-filled life in spite of the stress.
Right. And if you don't know what else to do, go plant a flower.
Yeah. You know why? Because it'll put you on your knees, which is where we're supposed to be anyway.
In the dirt. Beautiful.
Amen.
God bless you, bro.
Love you.
Peace.
Bye.
Well, that was an unexpected twist. Today, I was reminded about how stress is not always a bad thing. Sometimes our perceived stress is just the starting point for something great that's about to happen. Like most things, it's about our perspective and our decisions to bring these things to the foot of the cross and listen to what God has to say about them. I pray that you are encouraged by today's talk. And if your stress level has you beyond being encouraged, I recommend you dig into Philippians 4:4 through 7. Study it word by word and see what God has to say about stress. Lord, please continue to use this podcast to impact the lives of all those who listen. I ask that you would bring hope and healing to each and every one of them. Meet them right where they are and reveal yourself to them like only you can do. In Jesus' name, amen.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it and invite others to the Foxhole. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you know when new episodes drop, and please rate us and comment there too, as it'll help us get found by others who could benefit. Find, follow, and like us on your go-to social media networks by searching Foxhole Symphony, or visit foxholesymphony.com to make it super easy to find us. Drop us a line with feedback, questions, topic requests, who knows? Maybe you'll be a guest on a future episode. In the meantime, prepare to move, embrace discomfort, and just be you.